Hello.
This yam.
That's my baby girl right there. Ooh, she with her friends. I'm a dog, I ain't shit. I'm a wind up in her friends. Bad guy, outlaw. Ooh, I'm like clock, but I ain't die after the second time I got shot.
This guy.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up, motherfuckers and Negroes? This is the Bear the Sadist podcast. Joining me is the lovely host, Internal Sadist, and I'm your co-host, the Baron Yam. And today we're going to test out Baron Yam's radio voice. How's it going, guys? This is my radio voice, DJ. Yeah, what's going on?
This guy.
But yeah, so Tico, I have a story about today.
What?
So it's my last day working at the one spot, and serving this. Or my coworker keeps telling me about, he drops his girlfriend off at work, and there's a guy in a car next to him when he drops her off, and he's like, that should be the other way around. She should be dropping you off, and this is what he's telling me. I'm trying to tell him it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Because no matter, and he was like, see, when she drops me off, or I drop her off because I'm alpha or something, or she drops me off because I'm alpha. And I was like, listen, dude, all the alphas died in World War II.
I'll give you that.
And then
There's no such thing as alpha. The sad part about that, it's not even about that. Like, the question is, whose car is it?
Yeah, and who drives it more? Like, and that those are the real questions he should be asking. But instead, he's asking the wrong questions. And while I was trying to explain to him, I was telling him, men are more different than women are different. Women are more the same than men are the same. So it's kind of like how you can't train a woman to like what you like, because as a man you can't really be placed as a man because you're much more different than the other man, whereas she's much more similar than to other women, And this guy is eavesdropping on the conversation. 6'4", maybe like 275, 300, 310 maybe, who knows. He's a big dude. And he's like, I'm just trying to mind my own business, but, I hope you're joking about what you said about the military, because I've led squadrons, I've led battalions, and, I just hope you're joking. And I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you or offend you by anything that I said, but the truth is that there really is no such thing as alpha. And he kind of realized like, oh, maybe he's a little bit more intelligent than how because all he heard was all the alphas died after World War II, and that's all he really paid attention to. But it's like, if you have to get up to like a loud pan banging and stand in line at 2 a.m. with people yelling at you in your face, telling you that you're a maggot, and then you have to like you fall into like a shit covered pit of poopy sticks, and then you have to get your leg amputated and stuff. You come back home, you can't get a job. It's like that kind of stuff is not alpha characteristics. If you're predator missiling people, that's not very alpha. That's pretty much. And I was talking to Win about it, and he was like, yeah, they basically train you to think that you're alpha. For what outcome? Like military men are more likely to marry and reproduce. That's pretty much the only thing that they're more likely to do. And they're not more likely to to get a job and be more successful, they're more likely to be recommended for a job, but they also they don't have like, if they have combat training or whatever training they have, it's less, it's not like it's likely to get them a job. And he's saying all this stuff while he's the customer and I'm serving him the food that he's paying for, so it's kind of like the only power dynamics is the customer's always right. Other than that, we're on equal footing for all intents and purposes, So it's like, what do you think about that?
I agree with you 100%. There pretty much there's no more alphas, and I'm pretty sure he didn't argue after that. After you said that the second time, because he's probably looking to somewhat intimidate you, and it didn't really work. It was one of those things. Is like, well, he pretty much backed down after that, and he didn't really argue it no more after that. So it's like one of those things where it's like, well, that didn't work for me. Well, what other route can I take to basically try to intimidate this kid? Nothing, obviously. So therefore, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut and let him talk.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just like they kind of it's all, to me it was just, it's all for one reason, because they don't want to lose out on money. It's kind of like, remember when we were encountering the whole like the pimposphere, and
The what?
they had the pimposphere. And they got mad at you. So that's kind of like a similarity that I see between military and the pimposphere. There's like, there's a lot of money in that industry. And the moment you start red pilling people, that's when people start losing money. And I was trying to explain to my coworker, like, like if you're like Floyd Mayweather, I was like, all right, I'm gonna rapid fire some at you, and you're gonna tell me if they're beta or alpha. And I was like, okay. I was like Superman, and he was like alpha, and I was like, all right, Captain America. He's like alpha. I was like Iron Man. He's like total alpha, and I was like, all right, dude, this is how it's gonna go, because really, there's like the reason why Floyd Mayweather is a beta is because, well, one, for his actions, but if somebody knocks him out, they could take what he earned away from him very easily, which doesn't make him an alpha. It makes him more of a beta, because especially the way he like sticks his chest out and everything. I'm just using him as an example. But
He's
like
a beta.
a guy like Mike Tyson, like, of course, when it comes to relationships, he's just straight up beta. But like he's fought to a level where he doesn't necessarily have to look over his shoulder as much or be afraid, because he's kind of like developed some. And I was like, see, that's characteristics of a Sigma. Like a Sigma has worked to the point where he doesn't have to be as afraid as a beta to lose his status, because he's like earned it for that in that situation, in that context. Like he's not as worried about the stuff that's going on around him, and at any point he can just enter back,
or how it's going to look, or how it's going to look if he loses.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. And so that's why he could be considered a Sigma. But like as a beta, everybody is a beta. Like the only alpha entity is the government, because they can take whatever they want to at any time that they want to, and and he was like, yeah, you're a bitch. I'm like, yeah, we're all bitches when it comes to the government. Everybody's a bitch. Like everybody can be manipulated by the government, like whether it's benefits.
Everybody can be bought, sold, or jailed by the government.
Exactly, bought sold, because you could say like, well, I'm a mercenary, I'm a hired hitman. The government pays me to do this, and I use that money however I want. It's like, yeah, but you're not the alpha.
Who paid you? The government.
Exactly, gotcha. The government. And so like, once again, your attention's being taken away from living your life to serve another's purpose. That is straight up beta. And I was like trying to explain it to him just as in-depthly as I could, because this was the last day that I was going to see him. So I was just like, you know, whenever a lion dies in a pride, the rest of that pride kill that whole entire lion's bloodline, or they eliminate that whole bloodline from the pride.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you take an L in this society, you get to shrink back into your like beta hidey hole sort of, and then you get to like kind of like you said, you're afraid of loss. Your fear of loss makes it so that you never actually lose, or that you never learn quite from your losses, which is why you have people who are like serial bout losers, who then like become seriously mentally handicapped because they just take concussion after concussion after concussion, and they end up becoming like. And I was like, anytime you get mad at a woman, beta, because he was like, I told my girl once, I slammed on the brakes. I was like, don't talk to me like that. And I was like, that's beta. And he was like, what? No, it's not. No, I control it. I was like, no, that's beta, because if you get angry at her, that means that you're not in control. You're basically going off of emotion. And he was like, oh, I was like, you get what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, I get what you're saying. And so I'm just like kind of coaching him through it. Would you say that that's a good way to do it, or do you think it's like going too far?
That was good. That was very good.
It's just you gotta be careful. You can't really just with the guy, the army guy. It's like I could have risked getting beat up, but at
not
least
really.
No.
He's military, but he ain't stupid.
True. I mean, like, if he came back with a bunch of his buddies, like, so what were you saying about betas in the military? I'd be like, you guys are all betas. And I got my ass beat.
Name with that.
But no, I know. But it's like, think about it. I mean, you do pose a certain risk to yourself. But when you try to do that to people, when you try to like, I think the only point and the thing I learned was like, as long as they get the message, as long as they got it, it's like when I finally started to fit, like as I was piecing things together, like my coworker's like, oh, what you're saying is not making sense. And then I would try to reformulate it and maybe bring in another example. Like when I said women are more the same than men are the same, it kind of like locked into place. Like it was like it tightened more, and I could feel it's like a boa constrictor, but it's like it tightened more around his mind, and it like squeezed him to think just a little bit more past just like, oh, that guy's car. I'm gonna talk to him about that car. Oh, that chick drives this car, this, that, and the other. It's like, well, and then or like that chick's hella thick or something like that. So it's like you kind of slowly start to just squeeze the blue pill out of them, just like, oh, and then as they every once in a while they'll lash out at you and say like, well, you're saying it's the parent's job to train the woman, it's not my job to train the woman. And I'm like, yes, it's a waste of your time. He's like, well, how is any girl gonna know what I like if I don't tell them what I like? And I'm like, you're wanting, I was like, you want quantity over quality.
Yeah, true.
That's what you're going for. You're going for quantity over quality. So you take.
But you really want quality. But you really want quality over quantity is what you really want.
Exactly.
Because when you got to train somebody, you're basically taking quantity over quality. And the sad part about that is what a lot of people fail to realize when it comes down to it is it's not the fact that it's not the fact that their parents should train you, and that whole entire thing. Well, how does she know what I like? That's the problem. That's not your shit. The sad part about that, she should learn that by herself on what you like. You don't have to teach her; she learns it. So it's one of those things where, like, if she's intuitive and she's really into you, she will find out what you like. Let it be through your mother. Let it be through asking you questions. Let it be through all this other stuff. You don't have to teach her anything. She will inquire to learn. Because a good example of that is, I made a video a while ago about if a woman's not interested in something, what'd you say? You met the woman, she's not interested in astrophysics. Never been interested, never did anything about space, never even studied a course. Her friends know nothing about space. One day she comes home talking about astrophysics, basically. One of two things happen. Either she just joined us, Either she just joined a college, or she's about to cheat on you with another person that she's interested in. That's simply how that works. So the sad part about women will learn a man if they're interested in a man. They will learn things from a man or for a man just they're interested. Like a good example of that is like I was saying, I have like a lot of subscribers to that one Hispanimation channel where I do Japanese Spanish anime. There are women that really went above and beyond to learn Spanish just so they could listen to the anime. They didn't wait for it to come in English. They literally learned Spanish just so they could listen to the anime. You see what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. Trust me, a woman will learn it if she wants to about you. Like if a woman wants to know what your favorite food is, she'll learn it from you. If a woman wants to know what she likes, she'll try it out on you. If a woman wants to know anything about you, she'll ask or she'll try it or she'll learn it. That's simply how it works. So you never have to teach a woman any damn thing for this reason.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then not only that, you don't have to really curtail what you like to fit any woman, because 98% of the women who are around you aren't going to be the best quality for you. I mean, yeah, they might have the biggest or the fattest ass that you see, but at the same time, they're not worth it for you. And when you said like 2%, you were saying like something like 2% of women in America are worth dating. I think that applies to each individual guy. Like 2% of the women are going to like somehow either be intuitive or they're going to actually inquire or intuitive about you and say like this side of this person needs to be known. Whereas like when it comes to hypergamy, it's anything that she sees. And I was explaining it to him again. Like I was like, a guy, like if a guy sees a woman that he's not attracted to walk by, nothing about what she does is going to change the fact that he's not attracted to her. If a woman walks by and he is attracted to her, then he's attracted to her. That's not the same thing with women. If a guy walks by that she's not attracted to, and he all of a sudden his valet pulls up a Lamborghini and he pulls out pulls a rack of like 10 grand or something out of his pocket, she's just flooding water, gushing water, and it's not the same way. Like you can't force a guy to be attracted to something that he isn't. And that's what I was trying to tell him. He's like, well, you're just not able to train her. You're just not able to train women to do what you want. It's like, no, it's not that I can't train these women to do what I want. It's that I'm not attracted to them to want to put in and nor should I. If I was, I shouldn't have to put in any effort or put in.
Look, this is what it is. Because the sad part about that, everybody keeps thinking training. The sad part about that is men don't train women. Women train men.
I was like, and I asked him, I was like, what do you do when your girlfriend says I'm cold? He's like, nothing. I don't do anything. I don't even turn on the thermostat for her. I was like, all right, what do you do when she says you're hungry? He's like, nothing. I don't do anything. She makes.
He's on that tough now.
I was just like, all right. That's fine. You don't have to do anything for her if she says that you do, right? So you're not being trained by her, right? So and then I never really got to pursue that thought because I was just trying to hammer home to him just simply that like if men are if you want to try to pretend to be alpha or to pretend to be a sigma male, however
like a good example of that is, does he drop her off at work or does she drop him off at work?
They trade off. It's like it's equal.
My point exactly. He's been trained.
And then like at the same time he's like, I gotta leave. I'm like, why are you gonna leave the job? He's like, I have to go drop my girlfriend off. And I was like, so you're leaving. You're leaving your job where you make money to go, and she thinks this is beneficial for you. This is good for you to do when it really just benefits her.
He's trained. He's been trained.
Exactly. And I was like, why would you naturally do something that is not beneficial to you at all just for her if you're not trained? It's like I said, when the military trains you, they train you to be they train you to be well-rounded, albeit a little bit dense in certain areas, but they do it so that you can perform their tasks better.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like wouldn't necessarily go out through all of the grueling psychological torture just for shits and giggles, just because it's fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
Only like a select few people would be down to do that. Like MGTOW the Win. MGTOW the Win
Mm-hmm.
is one of those people. And like MGTOW the Win even admitted, he's like, I'm a beta for 1 week out of the year when it comes to the military, and then I go back to being a Sigma. It's like laying low in the ranks of the military and whatnot. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of and a lot of people confuse that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like getting back, it's like, yeah, I was just trying to convince him that, and then what you said about the military, yeah. Well, it's like only a certain amount of people will actually volunteer to do something that isn't going to benefit them in that way. So why would
Mm-hmm.
they do it with a relationship? Pretty
Yeah.
much
And the
just,
sad part
yeah.
about that, a lot of people who go, what I've found out, very few people volunteer for the military, but a lot of people go because there's no jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That's typically how that works. So if there's no jobs and the job market is down, typically a lot more people go join the military for this reason.
Well, funny story, that where I was in North Dakota, the unemployment is recently it's been just like marginal at best. Like, it's been relatively low for a decent amount because of fracking and the oil industry. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it hovered at around like 2% in the actual county of like
Mm-hmm.
Williston and like the surrounding counties and stuff like that. So the military have like a different job to do there. Like when it was at the recruitment office, they were talking about how unemployment's so low that they can't even pick out of the pool of unemployment people for like a sustainable quota. So they have to
Mm-hmm.
go after like the college students.
Mm-hmm.
And the college students are being competed with, or they're competing for the college students with like the business professionals, the service industry, the food, the retail industry. There's like sort of like some sort of mall life there, but not really. But it's like there's a few industries that are like, and the oil,
Mm-hmm.
natural resources and stuff like that. And so they have like a different job. Like, they can't just go after people who have no options. They have to go after people who have like a lot of options and
Mm-hmm.
actually do a job and sell them a product. So they
Mm-hmm.
they do like this presentation. They give you like all the different letters of the military and what it means, and you break it
Mm-hmm.
down. It's pretty good. It's pretty good material. But it's still like a lot of adventurism, and it's still trying to give you the idea that here in the home front, like, it wouldn't be as fulfilling as if you were doing. It's kind of like Patrice O'Neal. He's like, man, why are you down here and it's all nice and cool and you're eating a burger watching the sports? Like, let me ain't that better? Let me just fix this for you. Ain't that better? Ain't that better? Let me just curl up to you in this tiny sweaty knot. And ain't that better? Hey, don't eat that burger. Let me make you a salad. And let's watch, a soap opera. That's kind of like what the military does. They just like they lay a bunch of stuff in front of you, and we're just like, this would be way better than what you're doing right now. Just minding your own
Facts.
business,
Facts.
living your life.
And the sad part about that is that's typically what women do to men. This is typically why I always joke about, why would I want to live 5 years longer if I'm going to live a suffering life, basically, if I'm with somebody
Yeah.
like that. Says, I want to eat the burger I want to eat. I want to drink what I want to drink. I want to go to the bar I want to go to. I want to do all the stuff that I want to do. Why am I going to capitulate to somebody, changing my schedule, my eating routine, my everything for no fucking reason whatsoever? I'm going to be pissed. So if I'm going to be pissed and grumpy, why date that person? And why would I want to live extra couple years longer for that reason? Like, think about that. Like, oh, if you're married, you live 5 or 6 extra years longer. Okay, but I'm living in misery. Why? Show me on why that's a great idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and my only thing is, yeah, they get it just makes you even more easily trollable because you you think what you're getting out of it, like you'll defend it to your dying breath because of the outcome that you're promised. Like you're promised when you get out of the military, honor and respect. If you work at a skill, you're promised a job. You're promised a foot in the door with your like the status of it'd be like having a high school diploma or a
Mm-hmm.
degree. It's like just something else on top, and a lot of that stuff is kind of swept aside when people see you and they perceive you a certain way, because when you're in
Mm-hmm.
the latrine or when you're in whatever, it's like, oh, you left the seat up or you didn't flush. It's like the same things that a woman would criticize a man for, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the cleanliness is next to godliness type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like they spoon feed you motivation too along the way, kind of like how
Mm-hmm.
like women will be in a relationship and they'll have to do these like motivational posts every once in a while because they don't really respect their man that way, but they
Mm-hmm.
just they
They
they, they
pretend
try
like
to,
they do,
yeah,
or they
and
try to portray an
they
image of
amass like
that
an
they do.
army of they amass an army of simps and an army of like bridge lurking thoughts and stuff,
Or
just
bridge
like
troll, under the
troll
bridge
thoughts.
trolls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
under the bridge troll women, and they're just like, ah, you're so great. And it just like it fuels their ego to the point where now they can tell their significant other anything straight to their face and tell them what to do. And then when they follow through on it, they're like, oh, you're the best husband ever, you're the best boyfriend ever. It's like, yeah, of course you think that because you've told me literally every single action I've had to do, and I've fulfilled it. I've gained nothing for myself, but I've
Mm-hmm.
given everything to you, and you're saying that is almost hollow to me. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't do it, or if you even, God forbid, if you think about ending the relationship, you're facing all this emotional blackmail and mental manipulation, because she could just post on social media, oh, you did this thing wrong, so you're therefore you're just, or you never learned how to cook, and then it's like blah 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 blah. And I'm explaining this to this guy, and he's just like saying like, well, it's just the same way, like if you didn't learn how to cook, that's your parents' fault. And I was like, yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
as a guy, we always blame ourselves. We always say, I could do better, I can always learn to cook. I'm not the best cook right now, but as long as I can eat my own
I can get
cooking,
better.
I can always improve. Women don't
Yeah.
think the same way. They think, if if I don't have something, I can get it, or I'm gonna hold on to this branch until I see where it is I can get it. Then I'm gonna grab that whole branch and leave this branch behind in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whereas like I guess guys, they just like they like to like amass a bunch of branches and like hone them and whittle them down and stuff, to the point where like they think about the problem in a whole different way, like in this way
Mm-hmm.
where they can actually fix it. Whereas a woman will cling to a problem that she has, almost like a crutch, or almost like she's like something that she can always say, this is what's holding me back, until something comes along where she can just completely discard. And it's called the narcissistic discard, but completely discard that branch and move on
Mm-hmm.
to the next branch, until that branch is no longer able to support her weight because she's gotten fat off of the fruits of that branch too. So it's just like
Mm-hmm.
an ending cycle.
What did he say to that when you said that to him? When he said about the men actually think about the stuff and
Men
try
actually
to
think
improve
about this
on?
stuff.
What did he
Yeah,
say?
he was like, yes, yeah. I was like, did that make sense? He's like, yeah, I get what you're saying. I was like, you get what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. What's
And
up, Sifu? By the way.
yeah, oh my God, Sifu, that guy, you got to move away. You got to move out of that guy's house. That guy, or being roommates with that guy. I don't know if that guy's your roommate or whatever. The blue guy with the in front of the blue truck. He's he was so rude. He just walked straight by the frame and everything. I was like, rude. And that's how people treat. I guess that's how people treat you when you're, a free thinker, bohemian, whatever you want to call it. They just like try to walk all over you, and as soon as you start fighting back, they're just like, "Oh, yep, no, 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 can't fight back against this." I've noticed that people do that. They're trying to get you to change how you're like this military guy. He was trying to get me to back off of what I said, and the fact that I
Very
didn't,
true. Very true. He
and
was.
and so nothing is really when it comes to speech. And I guess you could say I'm not a speech pathologist, but when it comes to speech, nothing is cemented in stone. The only thing that you can change about it is your delivery and your conviction when you say it. So you could
Yeah.
so the fact that you say it and you don't back down from it, that's as true as or that's as close to knowledge concerning truth as anything. The moment you start backing off from what you said, that's when trouble strikes, because
True.
you're
It's basically the same concept.
emotional.
It's basically the same concept when I say commit and own it. That's what you're basically doing with your speech. Basically, you're not backing down. You said it, and I'll say it again if you don't like it. I'll say it again, basically.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where like you basically just committed and owned it, and like the fact that you repeated made him actually back down. You see what I'm saying? Even though he's military and he wanted to defend everything, basically he was thinking with his emotions. So basically, the fact that you repeated it again and said what you said, and then said it again and repeated it is like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah. And I wasn't trying, like I said, I wasn't telling him to do anything. I'm just sharing with him my viewpoint and clarifying it. And after he left, I was like, I wish he would have stayed, because then he would have listened to it more and been able to. But a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is how he is all the time, but when you hear something that you don't like, you're much more likely to just tune it out and not want to listen. I do the same. I do similar stuff sometimes, just because I'm trying. I just don't feel like sometimes I don't feel like listening to somebody. Trying to get under my skin. It's just I'd rather be doing other stuff. I don't always have to deal with it with somebody trying to get under my skin. Just
I
just to
typically
like.
I typically listen to everything they say when they're trying to get under my skin, for the fact that
Mhm.
when it's all said and done, I'm going to bite you, and it's going to hurt very badly. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, I can't believe he did that to me. Well, yes, I can. You sat there and was fucking with me the whole entire time, and you expect me not to bite you? Like, come on now, don't be stupid, child. So it's simply one of those things where I listen to
Mhm.
everybody, even if they got something, even if they're trying to get under my skin, I still listen to them.
Oh,
Basically,
like I said, well, like I take threats the same way, but if I hear just like a dog,
well, not
like a
threats.
loud.
Not I'm talking about in general. Like everything that a person says. Like if they say like bitch shit, like that's why you're a prisoner, or
Well, that's
yeah,
poking and
you don't know
prodding
nothing
at a
about that,
person.
or
Yeah,
And so it's like one of the things. It basically lets you know what their character is when they're able to do that to you, and
yeah.
it typically proves my point in the stream when you got people doing this or talking like sideways or saying stupid shit. Basically, they basically have bitch thing. And the sad part about that is this is typically common of men who were raised by single mothers who say stupid shit like that on a regular basis. Bitch thing. You're a prisoner. This. Because basically you're just trying to get one up. You're basically acting like you're a fucking mother right now. You're a fucking bitch right now. And that's pretty much one of those things that I've always talked about, where it's like, and the sad part about that, every now and again, people get to see a glimpse of it in my live stream just before I shut it down. And it's one of those things that's going to be around for a while. You're going to be seen as a bitch for the rest of your time in my live stream for this reason, because I'm not taking down the live stream, and it's going to stay up whether you like it or not, and everybody's going to see you for the bitch you really are. And so typically, this is basically why I live up all my live streams, so people can't say, well, I said this, that, and the other, and Tico Trent said this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. Like, no, that's not how this went down. Let's go listen to this live stream all over again.
Yeah, well, and then you're well, like, yeah. If you're thoughtful about what you say, you'll never get caught in a lie, because But then, yeah, that's good that you leave those up. And one of the things that you left up, was about hoe tendencies, and obviously bragging about your military experience is definitely hoe tendencies. Like
Yeah.
anything that brings you sort of that beta confidence, That's
Yeah,
that's hoe tendencies right there.
that's very hoe
But
tendencies. Yeah, and the sad part about that is a lot of men actually suffer from those hoe tendencies, and it's very sad when you see a man suffering from hoe tendencies or bitch thinking hoe tendencies for all intents and purposes. Matter of fact, there's supposed to be a two coming out pretty soon. That'll be interesting. But anyways, but yeah,
I'm excited for that one. That one's gonna be good.
and the sad part about that is you run into a lot of people who think that they're cooler or they're better or they're much savvier than they think they are, or they think they're way above a cut above the rest. Like it's basically what Cypher said in the one stream. You know, a smart, an intelligent person will say something like intelligent once a week, whereas an idiot will basically say something smart, all the time. But the question is, can he elaborate on what he actually said smart for all intents and purposes? And that
Yeah,
simply ends up being one of them things. Yeah, it's simply one of those things like a dumb person can say some smart, an idiot can say some smart shit, but the question is, can he elaborate on that smart shit? The sad part about that, when a smart person says something smart, he basically elaborates on it and he gets much more deeper into it.
I think the language stays the same. So it's like translating is a highly technical process, but it doesn't require a high amount of intelligence. Like, of course, translating can increase your chances of survival, which means it's like if you have
Well, it's not even that
level
though.
of
It's more or
competency.
less the fact that you comprehend what they said. Because
Yeah,
there's a lot of
exactly.
people that run around who think they're smart, but they can't comprehend what another person is saying in a conversation. If you can't comprehend what somebody's saying in a conversation, then you have a very low social IQ for all intents and purposes. There's a lot of people that run around talking about how smart they are, but they can't comprehend a simple conversation or a sentence, let alone a conversation. So it's one of those things where it's like, are you really smart, or is it just you believe you're smart, or does somebody tell you were smart growing up? So it's one of those things where like you got to pretty much weed out what that person actually is. Because there's a lot of people run around and say they're intelligent. That's really not intelligent. Oh, there's a lot of people that run around the manosphere that'll vouch for other people being intelligent, and that person's not even intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where it's like you got to basically be able to look at things and weigh the pros and cons and figure out if that person's actually smart, like they say they are, and if they're not, then it's like then if the person that said that person was smart, you got to question their level of intelligence or their level of intellect altogether. So it's one of those things. Now you got to start questioning everybody around that person that propped that person up.
Facts, yeah. And I mean, I try not to prop people up unless I know they are bona fide, or unless I know that they're like, I've listened to them for a while. I've realized I've like learned what their strengths are, and learn what their weaknesses are, and then be like, you know what? I feel like I know this person well enough to prop them up. Like a lot of people don't, and I haven't like met a lot of people in the manosphere personally, so I can't really go out and vouch for people. I can shout them out, but that's different than saying like this person's a great person, because we don't know what each other does at each other's private personal life. Like we don't go in the route like just like snooping. Like you may have an idea, or you may have like a awareness level that's higher than other people when it comes to analyzing their speech, trying to figure out what they do, and if they're lying about something that they're saying that they did, which I got to get better at deciphering too, because there's been times where I'm like listening to somebody and they're like, I had sex with 4 hookers, and I'm just like, oh, very fascinating. That's very interesting. Like I believe them, but they might not be telling the truth.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those things where you also got things where you get people in a conversation that do shit like that. It's like, okay, we're not even talking about hookers right now. We're talking about, world peace or something like that. And you're talking about hookers. Really? Or world hunger, and you're talking about hookers. And so the sad part about that is that's typically the type of people who can't comprehend the conversation that they're in. They typically would get in a conversation and try to act all intelligent and say something simple like, I banged some hookers or something like that, or I slept with 9 women last night, or like that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about women in the least bit. Then they always try to swing the conversation back towards something that they specialize in, so they can sound smart or sound more cooler for all intents and purposes. Like, Yeah, we get it. You slept with a bunch of hookers. So what? Or yeah, we get it. You just now found out about the whole what's it called 2021. Like yeah, we just found yeah we're glad you just found out about it. We've talked about it for years. Like let it go. And it's one of those things where like you have to basically be able to sort shit out like that for this reason, because if you don't, you'll end up in a world of hurt or a big ass mess from doing shit like that for all intents and purposes. So it ends up being one of those things where, like, people don't try to, like, people pretend to be smart. They'll basically get themselves into a conversation that they know nothing about or don't specialize in. Typically, what I would say with that one, if you know nothing about a conversation, just sit there and be quiet and just listen and learn something. But the sad part about it, a lot of people in this world won't sit and listen, nor will they learn anything. They basically want to swing it back so they can feel important to a conversation that they know something about. That's simply how it works.
Well, it's turn taking. Like when you're listening in a conversation, I think the more overstated thing is when people are listening to be able to speak. I guess what's more understated that's just as important to the conversation is listening for clarification and listening to end the conversation, like because that's the point of having something meaningful, is it may go conversation to conversation smoothly, whereas like the conversation will pretty much fizzle out, and then they'll be like, okay, now we can move it back to something I'm comfortable with. Then you try to slowly work that person out of their comfort zone again, and you make some progress. Then as soon as they become cognizant of it, they swing it right back into something that they're comfortable with again, just so that and it's kind of like an addict. You're trying to get them to notice that they have like some level of addiction to like this one topic or this set of topics that they always keep talking about, or that they're always very adamant about discussing, and then you try to like wean them off of that path, because it's like at some point you have to realize that like not everybody's going to want to talk about the exact same thing, and you have to
not everybody's going to want to
flexible
talk about the same thing over and over again either.
over and
So
over.
I typically hate talking about the same topics over and over again unless it has something to do with the topic we're talking about. Like I'm not going to bring up a whole entire topic and like over the course of like multiple streams. It's going to be a different aspect of that topic, or it's going to be because it fits in what we're talking about at that moment in time in the topic. And that's simply what I do. It's like I'm not repeating this again. No, we're done. That conversation's over. That was 9 streams ago. Let it go. And that's pretty much how I feel about it, because I don't feel like rehashing bullshit for no reason whatsoever if I don't have to rehash it. It's just me, though.
And just to clarify a point on the channel, I know I'm gonna kind of like step on Tico's toes a little bit, but his chart date for response videos is anywhere from 3 weeks to a year for a response. So just because we're bringing stuff up that happened a while ago doesn't mean that we're bringing stuff up and we keep hammering on a topic, because it's all part of the response video the response that's being made towards the videos that were on the channel previously, or videos that have been made previously. So so it's like I understand it, but I don't think a lot of people understand it.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll respond to you whenever I respond to you, basically. I'm not going to respond to you because you want me to. I'll get back to you whenever I want to, basically. So it's typically you got to wait anywhere between 3 weeks to a year for a response from me, if you want a response from me. And the sad part about that, there's a lot of topics that we wanted to talk about on live streams that we wait months, weeks to actually talk about, because it's too fresh and it's too new. And it's basically one of those things where it's like, it's funny to talk about it after it's over, or even if it's still going on. It's funny to talk about it then, basically, for the fact that, one, it's an ongoing problem, or two, it's one of those things that's like, it's a learning experience. Now we can laugh at it, basically. So typically when we talk about somebody or something, it typically happened 3 to 4 weeks ago to a year, basically. So it's like, well, that sounds fun to talk about this topic. Might as well hash it out.
And like something I think happened about 3 weeks ago was that Chicago, was that Chicago thing? The guy with the woman who got shot. Did that happen? Was that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago?
Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was like what? That was much further out than that one. But the
Oh,
sad
really?
part about that is typically I don't really make a video on that unless like all the information comes out because I don't want to be sitting up there looking stupid. Kind of like
Yeah.
what all the people rushed to do with that one video about that guy saying that the child is not his, end up being like a prank and shit like that, and all of them looked
Yeah.
like they were stupid. But if you look at my comment section, I literally have in there, it's a prank, but I'm using this as a learning tool. But everybody else looked dumb as hell with that one because come to find out it was a prank and they were saying, see, she cheated on him and this, that, and the other, and she's trying to actually try to get stuff out of him, talk about it's his fault and this, that, and the other, and they're going through the comment section trying to make him feel bad. And the sad part about that is it was a prank the whole entire time because I'm aware of that channel and I know it's a prank channel. So I really don't take to what he says. I don't take anything he says too seriously on that channel at all. So it's one of those things I knew it was a prank going into it. And I put in the description box that it was a prank. It's a prank, but it's a nice learning tool, is I think is what I put.
And yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny when you guys talk about the watershed moment that a lot of women have on the channel,
Mm-hmm.
like or on the videos where they realize, "Oh, I fucked up. Wow, I've been doing this wrong." Because like, how you know, how do you go this long? And it's because when men get out of these relationships, they always blame themselves and apologize for her. And not to mention, she does have like quite a bit of power. As much she has all the power that you gave to her during that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and she has you, especially if you're blue pilled. You're being like her marketing person and public relations person, being like, I wasn't at the right headspace. I messed up, or I chose to leave, or this, that, and the other. And it's like, if she was so ready to let you walk out, then you didn't choose that shit. She basically set that in motion, and like the last domino fall was you saying, "I choose to leave," but she had
Mm-hmm.
that going in the works.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty much
And
how a lot of the relationships work. And men don't realize that. And they would act like they're the heroes and saviors and stuff like that. We're looking like this. If she was really worried about you, she'd be trying to fix it and make it right. She's not worried about you. She's merely like, okay, whatever.
yeah, and like for those relationships, it's like she's trained you so much that you're basically like, and we say this with women too all the time, but you're basically like a domesticated dog now in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa, when you train her to be submissive and you train her to do what you want and you train her to do that, then she's more
Here's the
likely,
problem.
it
Here's
increases
the
the
problem.
likelihood of her getting into an even more abusive relationship in the future.
No, here's the problem with that. First off, you ain't trained her to do that shit. She's already doing that shit, and that's what she
She's
does.
an
So you
actor.
ain't trained
Yeah,
her to do shit. First
exactly.
off, because women are into shit that men don't even think women are into. Like I
Got it.
was saying in Garuda Ghost's live stream about sex and stuff like that, is women are into some shit that you don't even know they're into. Women are into some shit that would make you shrink as a man. Women are into some shit that that would make you lose faith in humanity. So it's one of those things where it's like, men, why trained her? No, she's into that shit. You just now found out about it, and now you stumbled upon it. Now it seems like it's your idea when in fact she's always had that desire. And the sad part about that's women in a nutshell. They're not going to tell you this shit because you're worried about what you'll think of them. And the sad part about that, I've seen husbands actually suggest stuff to women. Women's ears perk up, and then she'll ask, "Are you sure?" And they'll go, "Oh no, that might be a bad idea."
Yeah, like
You
that.
know.
If she's saying, "Are you sure?" That means she thought of it before you did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that I have to do that? She's like, just clarifying that she's not dreaming. She's like pinching herself.
Mm-hmm. That's really what it was.
Wow, wow, and that, yeah, and like you can't, and like that's the thing. Like if you do the quantity over quality thing, obviously you're going to lose some of the pleasure out of mundane sexual acts, but that doesn't mean that you have grown in any way. Like I said, you've pleased more women than you can count, but what have you done for yourself? That's what I always want to always bring up is like, how have you become better at what you do? Simply for the fact that a lot of women can say that you please them, when in reality it's like they could have been acting. They could always take it back too, even if you truly did. And that, like, the amount that you went far, however far you went, if you were to ask if you could go further, she's pretty much thought of that already. So you're pretty much provided like a short term or a short lived pleasure for her at the cost of your, of your free time, of your knowledge and everything that you use, and you get nothing in return for it. So it's like, why do people do that?
The sad part about that is, like, not only are you sucking at training women, the sad part about that, you're not training her to do things. She's basically training you to do what she wants for all intents and purposes. And the more she trains you to do what she wants, the more likely she's going to skip on you or dance on you, basically, for all intents and purposes, because you become more predictable. That's the problem with a lot of these DS dynamics. DS dynamics. You're basically painting yourself into a narrow corner. On top of that, you don't actually have the power like you think you do. The person who's submitting to you has all the power, because they can pull the plug on it anytime you want. That's another two. Number three is, because you painted yourself into a narrow ass corner, she's going to get bored with you very quickly for somebody else that can do more and explore that whole entire dynamic even better than you. And it's basically like, because the sad part about that, people will walk around, anybody that gloat about how their sex and how much sex they had with women, 9 times out of 10, they probably haven't really pleased any women. They probably, got off and thought they did their good job, and the woman probably was faking it the whole entire time. It's simply how it usually works. But the sad part about that is, a lot of men will talk around, I made her holler. Okay, yes, women always holler. Like, your point. It's like, women will holler just so they can stroke your ego. Like, even if it ain't good, they'll fake it, basically. And the sad part about that, a lot of men who gloat about how many women they had and all the women they had sex with, a lot of women just fake it. And the sad part about that, a lot of women that men have sex with, you weren't their first option or their first choice. So now they got to stick with you and actually go with you to get their booty, to get some sex, though. And it might not even be the best sex because the other guy gives them even better sex. So it's one of those things where it's like, everybody talks shit about how many women they bang and how many thoughts they banged out and how many girls they turned out, basically. And the sad part about that is, none of those women are even pleased in the least bit. And the sad part about that, 9 times out of 10, you weren't their first choice in the first damn place, but your name happened to come up, and they's like, you know what, I really need the D, so I might as well go with this goofy ass nigga over here, basically. And that's pretty much how it ends up working.
Yeah, true. And like what you have to say about lookism, I think factors into it, because in the PUA and Dom game community, you have men who insist to men and other women watching that they're better at talking to women than women are, and and the Dom game is better at apparently pleasing women than women are, and both of those things are false. So it's like, what exactly are you getting yourself into when you pay? When you pass the paywall of these channels, you're getting a lot of
basically at the end of the day, it's all nothing more than manipulation. That's all it really is. It's basically teaching you how to think like a woman. Basically, it basically be like that Steve Harvey book, act like a man. Act like a lady. Think like a man, act like a lady, or whatever it is, vice versa. So think like a man, act like a lady, or act like a lady, think like a man. Yeah. Technically, it's the same damn concept when it comes to those guys. So basically, they're teaching a reverse psychology of that shit. So at the end of the day, what happens with that is they're doing nothing more than deploying female tactics to manipulate females.
Act like a man, think like a lady.
Yeah, basically, no, they're not even acting like a man. It's basically like what I was saying with that one title of our last video was. Basically, no, bitch think, basically.
Oh yeah.
Bitch think hoe tendencies. Basically, that's all it really is. Because you really can't sit up here and tell me that you're going to act like a man and think like a woman, basically. When you're actually, that's just bitch think hoe tendencies, basically. And it's pretty much what it is when a man does it. And they may not like it, but it is what it is. Like, it's bitch think hoe tendencies. So basically, you're thinking like a bitch and you have hoe tendencies at the end of the day. So basically, you're trying to manipulate everybody like a bitch and you have hoe tendencies. You're trying to be a hoe, basically, by getting in this hoe's pants. So now you have hoe tendencies. So there's nowhere around that for a man to actually argue that a point away for the fact that that's literally what he's doing. He has bitch think and hoe tendencies. So it's one of those things where, like, you have to be able to position yourself in a better position. Because the sad part about that is what they, like I said, what they do is they teach you how to manipulate women for a short period of time. What they don't teach you is how to be in a long-term relationship with that woman. They'll teach you that, oh, well, she wasn't interested in you. Okay, so now you want her interested in you. Why do you need her interested in you if she's not interested in you? Oh, because you want to hit that. Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, you dumb fuck. And that's typically how a lot of this shit works when you actually got to deal with a lot of this shit, when you got to deal with people that, when you deal with men from those communities that got bitch think and hoe tendencies. They're basically thinking like bitches, interacting like hoes.
That's what they want to do, because like so those people target men who haven't had many conversations with women and know how they talk and how much better they are talking. This other side is targeted at men who have had been liberated somewhat sexually or experienced sexually with women, but they're telling them that there's a sexual underworld, dom game, you can always go more. And this is, I think, gives people an idea that they can somehow hold down a relationship through this like sexual gratification, or this
because the sad part about that. Think about this. Think about this. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
All those motherfuckers that's talking about there's a sexual underworld and all this other extra shit. Are any of them niggas in relationships?
No.
My point exactly. I rest my case. Shut the fuck up. Like I said, if you haven't been in a relationship, right? If you haven't been in a relationship, shut your fucking mouth and let the professionals talk. That's pretty much how I feel about it. If you haven't been in a relationship,
come back to me. I'm gonna go teach Laszlo with his homework.
Right? Right. Right? And that's simply how this shit works.
Like, you came back in, you're like, that's not how it goes. That's how it goes. All I hear is a bunch of excuses. Coming back. You like came back to the microphone like, no.
And that's pretty much how it is. What's up, No Sweetheart? What's up, MGTOW Threads? And the sad part about that is you deal with a lot of women who get themselves into precarious messes and continuously get themselves into precarious messes. And the sad part about that is, like I said, none of them niggas are in a relationship to try to teach you about some sexual underworld. The sad part about that, what they're teaching you is just sex. That's it, just sex. They're not teaching you how to do it right. They're not teaching you how to do it well. They're not teaching you any angles on how to do it. They're just basically teaching you sex. How to get it.
It's all theoretical. Well, it's all theoretical too.
And it's all like you said, it's all theoretical.
Here's what you're gonna do.
It's all theoretical.
You're gonna, or like, and they like even so like with the dom game, they teach you how to initiate or how to approach women for like dark sexual underworld sex. So like you got C Boogie over here who's like, I'll go take them to the closet and I'll beat their ass for a little bit. It's like, you're just like, what the fuck? But that's like,
and the sad part about that, that's not dark sexual any fucking thing. That's just lust. That's just sex. The sad part about that is it's basically the same thing that the PUA is doing over here, only you're trying to make it sound cooler. When in fact it's the same fucking thing. Having sex in a closet isn't some major thing. Everybody's done it. Yeah. And the sad part about that, they make it sound like it's great. It's like, and I always look at them like, nigga, please. I've had sex on a pool table in the middle of a crowded fucking bar. I've once slapped the bartender in the face with my dick in a crowded bar. And then got her to suck it. Like, if you ain't doing none of that shit, ain't nothing dark about what you're teaching. If you're not willing to have sex in broad daylight while a bunch of people are watching, while you're telling that bitch, while you're bending her over, you're pulling her hair and telling her who the fuck you think you're talking to sex in broad daylight while people are watching, you ain't shit. You'll never be shit. And that's pretty much how that shit works. Is all these guys talk about broom closets. No, fuck that shit. Everybody, you, and you. I need you to watch this shit. I'm about to bang her fucking back out in front of everybody. She about to get this. Who the fuck you think you talking to, D? right now. And it's basically what it is. It's like, no, you're not doing shit. Like you're not doing nothing. You're basically just doing stupid shit to try to make, and you're basically making it sound fun because I've done all that shit that you did and more. Hell, I've had sex with a stewardess in a fucking in the fucking in the fucking the uh the bathroom. I've had sex with the stewardess in the hallway of a plane. The hallway leading to the fucking the hallway leading to the fucking the laboratories, basically. So it's one of those things where it's like, nah, like you're going to know I'm having sex.
They feel the only time a woman's going to have sex with you under that situation is if she feels safe, and that's never like the most exhilarating sexual experience if you're a guy.
Yeah, and the sad part about that is women will have sex with you under two circumstances under that. If it's something exciting and it's something that they really wanted to try, or if it's something if they feel safe, yeah. But the sad part about that, like you said, if it's safe, then it's not going to feel exhilarating. However, if it's something that she wanted to try, she don't give a fuck if the passengers are watching. Whereas if it's something that she feels safe, she's not going to want to know. Like a good example of that is I have a friend, and she likes having sex in public, but she doesn't like anybody to know she's having sex. You see what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where like she likes having sex, but she likes having sex secretly. It is what it is. Whereas like I've dated women, like I'm having sex in the car, I'm having sex on the pool table while everybody's trying to play pool. I'm slapping the bartender in the face with my dick in the middle of a crowded bar, and she's sucking it. It's like it is what it is. Like I have no shame in my game, and people know this about me, and people that scares a lot of people, and it turns on a lot of women in the process of doing so because I have no shame. Like it is what it is. Like, and I'm not embarrassed about anything. I don't have any performance anxiety. Hell, I've actually had sex. I've actually had sex in the snow and 43 below 0 degree weather. All because this heifer couldn't wait to get back to the house. We were literally making sex snow angels in the fucking snow and minus 40 degree weather. So it's one of those things where it's like, that's some dark sexual underworld shit right there. Because there's not too many men to actually get hard when the temperature drops below a certain temperature. They start having performance anxiety issues. They start having performance issues. Their dick doesn't want to get hard. You know, shit like that. Like, I got hard. I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, and we're always going to embellish the story. Like we're always going to embellish the stories when it is more normal experience. But when it is when it is actually an extreme thing, we just tell it like it is, and you know, it's like
having sex in a broom closet isn't all that great. Hell, I've had sex in a broom closet at a wedding with the bride, with the fucking bride. No, that's exhilarating.
Was it before or after the ceremony?
It was before the ceremony. She was in her wedding dress.
Nice, Tico.
Like I said, I ain't got no fucking shame. I got zero shame. Shit. And it is what it is. And it's one of those things where it's like, you're trying to tell me some shit that, oh, wow, let me tell you, so special. And the sad part about that is like, well, you don't know nothing about this. This is something new. No, nigga, what you don't know about is making a woman dress up in a schoolgirl outfit and putting her on a leash and walking around like a dog downtown Pittsburgh. What you don't know about is putting 2 women on a leash and having them half naked walking down the street. What?
and like a lot of these men, they fill the beta role. So like typically they don't have time to do that because they got to go to work. And then when they come back from work, they got to have the girl there, you know, it's like kissing their boots or making them, you know, or making them a sandwich or feeding them because of the long day of work. A lot of times they're so stressed from their output working full time or maybe 2 or 3 jobs, they don't even have the energy to put in sexual underworld type shit or even go out on a date. So they gotta fuck a girl in the broom closet because it's on the way to the bed.
Yeah. Or they gotta fuck a girl in a broom closet because they're at their job and that's the only place they're going to get some sex. Like, come on now. Like, you're not doing anything special. Like you're really not. I've had sex. I've had sex on a principal's desk. I've had sex on a dean's desk.
I think mean ask me personally, but like MGTOW is more just like being honest about the fact that if you are your average everyday man, you're not putting in you're not performing sexual Jesus miracles and stuff
No, you're
on
not.
women, just blowing their
You're not.
blowing their back out on a daily basis, six or
No, you're
seven
not.
women in the same day.
Because the sad part about
So
that, what I've learned about a lot of men who talk that much trash about that many women they did in one day is they typically start lying after a while. Because the sad part about that is, or they'll say, "Well, I couldn't even get hard anymore." Shit, I could. I don't know about you, nigga. Like, I've had sex with one woman 7 times in one day and not had a problem with getting hard, and still was able to produce sperm in the process of doing so. So what you're telling me is you're sexually inferior, basically, and you can't get hard after a certain amount of times in one day. That's basically what you're telling me. Because I've had sex with women like several times in one day. I've had sex with women like 4 times in one day. I've had sex with women 7 times in one day. I've had sex with women so many times in one day. It's like I don't have any problems with performance anxiety. I don't have any problems with performing the act that I'm about to get myself into, and it's typically how it works. And the sad part about that is we got all these men out here talking about how good at they are and what they did, and it's like, really, you have a problem with getting hard, or you had to give what do you refer to it as the half chubs? It's like, yeah, I never had that problem. It's always the whole chubs.
no, exactly. No, I mean, I feel like it's like when you have to please each woman on an individual basis, or it's like none of the experience. Like I said, none of the experience actually fulfills you to the point where you're ready to go again at full capacity. It's pretty much like you're handing out piecemeal dick, and all you're getting is validation, and validation isn't
Mm-hmm.
what re-energizes you.
Mm-hmm. The sad part
Like
about that is like if you have
get
sex with
a
multiple
significant
women
amount of
and you
energy.
stop getting hard after a certain amount of time, that's something that you need to work on in yourself. Like I've had sex with the same woman multiple times in one day, more times than what he claimed he did, with multiple women, and I've never had a performance problem. I could get hard again. I've gotten hard right after. Hell, I've had sex, came in a woman and like, it got weak, and it all of a sudden popped back up again and was ready to poke her in the fucking eye. So it's like one of those things where it's like, what are you doing wrong with your life for you to run into these problems? I don't know. It's just one of those things where people always try to present themselves as way cooler than they need to be. Because, like I said, I've actually had sex with a dean just so I can get a grade change.
Well, like think about it, like what Hammerhead was saying about the philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
You adhere to it, so it doesn't ever fall off you, or you don't ever fall off of it because you're stuck together. Unless as opposed to just joining something. When you join something, you're much less likely to like not be able to live up to their standards, and that's kind of like what some of this 3.0 bullshit and the whole like red pill feud within it, red pill feud with red pill purple pill feud, red pill black or black pill purple pill feud with like the red pill and stuff is like they think that we can't live up to the standards of all the knowledge and stuff that they have, when it's like, yeah,
they don't have that much. The sad part about that, a lot of those people, you don't even have that knowledge, and the knowledge that you claim you have is very slim to none, and you can't even elaborate on the shit. And you talk about the same talking points over and over and over. And the sad part about that, once you get into an argument with them on that same talking point that they always try to argue over and over again, they can't even elaborate on that fucking talking point. So why am I going to listen to somebody who can't elaborate on a talking point? And that's just it. Like, there's no such thing. It'll never happen for various reasons. For the fact that what you're going to teach them to be fucking dumb and stupid. Because the sad part about that is, gone are the days of all the intellectual properties that used to be the English-speaking manosphere. Gone are your bars. Gone are your Stardust. Gone are your thinking apes. Well, he's still here. He came back, but yeah, you know what I mean. But gone are all these people that used to do it on a regular basis and was very intellectually smart. And the sad part about that, the only people that are intellectually smart that are still here today either don't got the subs, or they call them boring or stupid or fast food. And this is typically the type of people that you're dealing with because you'll run into these people that go, well, he's fast food. Well, okay, can you match him intellectually? No, then he's not fast food. You're dumb as fuck, basically. You just don't comprehend what the motherfucker's saying. Well, I don't like his tone. Well, just say you don't like his tone. Don't say he's fast food. He's actually much more smarter than you, and he can pretty much run circles around you, half sleep. And that's just what it is. Like
You're
people will
talking
say stupid shit.
about Sandman? People
Yeah,
say
like
that
people
about Sandman?
like
Yeah.
yeah, like the sad part about that, Sandman can argue circles around 10 people who said that he's fast food all at one time. Hell, he can argue circles around 40 people that claim he was fast food all at once. And the sad part about that is he could do it without even breaking a sweat. He could do it without breaking a sweat, half sleep. He could do it while in an interview with Dr. Phil, while banging a bitch, while banging your mama over the trunk of her car, while arguing with all 40 of y'all at the same fucking time. That's how intellectually sound Sandman is. And the sad part about that, they say, well, he's fast food or he's this, he's that. No, he's actually much more intelligent than you. And the problem that you're having is you're not comprehending what Sandman is actually saying. You're merely just following all the small jokes and shit like that, and you're so caught up on his tone and how he's actually delivering it that you're not really catching the whole entire message.
Women get caught up on tone when it comes to intellectual conversation. Like with this guy that freaked out at what I said. It's like he got mad because I said it with gusto. I committed to it. But once he analyzed what I said after I repeated it, he didn't have anything to say about it. So it's like, why would you say the thing in the first place if you were listening? It just shows me you weren't listening. It doesn't show me that you didn't hear what I said, because you heard what I said, you reacted to it, but you weren't listening to what I said. You're
basically trying to intimidate me about what I was saying, basically, and it didn't work. Now you feel like you're shut down and stupid now. Thank you, Mr. Military Man.
Pretty much,
thanks for playing, Mr. Military Man.
I think he's got to picture me like this nigga.
Right?
He's like, I got to show these to my army buddies and see what they think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, those two. I mean, it does kind of feud with the because you call those purple pill, then you call the people that are really triggered and pissed. Those are the emo black pillars. The people over there. I think that they're gonna be like there's no satisfying them. Like
no, there's not.
Like I said,
because these are the type of people that just want to be right for the sake of being right. They're never right for any damn thing. And they'll use small stupid shit like, oh well, these Gordials. The sad part about Gordials is there's only 2 races of people in this whole entire world that has consistent Gordials. Barely any of them are white. And the sad part about that, the only group of people who actually have Gordials that are white women. So basically, you're being taught to look like white women so white women could be attracted to white women.
Yep.
And that's pretty much all it really is. Like, you're basically looking like a woman. You're basically being taught to get plastic surgery to look like a fucking woman.
It's pretty much like to be a woman. It's pretty much like a homoerotic agenda.
Yeah, it's basically nothing more than the whole entire a ramping up of the what they used to call it back in the day. With they used to say he was one. Ryan Seacrest was one. What the hell was that term that they used to? What?
No, transvestigation.
No, what was the term that they used for them? For men.
Metrosexual.
Yeah, metrosexual. It's basically a vamped up version of metrosexuality, basically. Because the sad part about that, no man actually looks like that. That's what something that women looks like. And the sad part about that is, if you ever notice, all these men that get this plastic surgery done with these Gordials, they literally look like soft ass men, soft ass women, men, basically. And the sad part about that is,
it's like
typically
when you look at if you look at the it's funny you mentioned that, because if you look at like the Marilyn Monroe, very balanced face, like kind of angular but soft and like romantic, whereas like now the faces that men and women go for are like these angular, really dramatic, kind of like the what not the Charlize, but the what's her name, Tilda Swinton, who was the monk in the Avengers. She also played like an old lady in a Wes Anderson film, but very sharp features.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they go. That's what they go for because of its association with like being a predator, hunter eyes, this whole thing. That's like
And
the
the sad
look.
part about that predator hunter eyes thing is not what it actually really looked like. Because if you look at if you actually look at the Neanderthals from back in the day,
I was
they
gonna
look
say
nothing like
their
that.
eyes aren't. Yeah,
They
exactly.
look
Their eyes aren't like
nothing
that.
like that. They look nothing like that. And the
They
sad
have
part
like
about
a
that,
moderate canthal
and
tilt.
you know who has hunter eyes that everybody always wants to talk shit on?
The fucking fucking like Eastern European or not Eastern Europeans like Hungarian and like those. I know that's probably not what you're gonna mention, but like Ukrainian and Russian, Hungarian, Ukrainian, and Russian, they have like those really almond.
Well,
It's like
no,
almond shaped
well, no,
forehead.
that's just the women in that race. That's just the women.
There we go. Right, right.
The race that has those eyes on a consistent basis are the Orientals. Oriental people. I don't mean to call them Oriental, but Oriental Asians basically have that look on a regular basis
Yeah,
with the
because it's
hunter
not
eyes. But
Southeast Asian shit. Yeah.
everybody wants to dump on them and tell you how unattractive they are, but you're running out to look just like them. Just like I was saying about the whole entire looks thing in the video last night where I did last night on my Black Pill channel, where I said, okay, fine, that's fine. But the thing about looksism is it's so full of shit that, big fat lips on a black woman is ugly. Big fat lips on a white woman is sexy. Like think about
Exactly,
that
right.
shit.
Yeah.
So you can't sit up here and tell me that, it's genetics when in fact white women literally run out to get lip injections to look like black women, have lips like black women, look like they got punched in the fucking lips several times, and they go get like braids and stuff like that and look like that, and it's perfectly fine for them to wear braids at work. But if a black woman wore braids like that at work, she would be seen as unprofessional. But that white woman could come to work just looking just like that for this reason. And it's simply why I started out the whole time. It's simply why I started out that stream with the doll test, because that's basically how we see shit.
Yeah, it's like a abomination is what it is. They walk around with like Latina hips, friggin' Asian hunter eyes, black lips, and
the thing that pisses me off the most about shit like that is it's always the white women that always claim that they're Latinas.
Wait, you said white women claim that?
Yeah, white women always claiming that they're Latinas. Like, no, look, just because your brother is dating a Latina, that don't make you Latina. Just because you have Latina friends, that don't make you Latina. Just because you work with Latinas, that doesn't make you Latina. Don't say shit that's not you for all intents and purposes, because that pisses me off. That pisses me off faster than anything.
I do know a woman. She's like, she tries to talk like a Mexican woman, but she's straight up white. Like,
yeah.
What do you do?
And I know, and don't get me wrong, there are some black women that do that shit, but black women, they're more likely to lean towards Native American. Like, bitch, shut up.
Anything to make them sound more interesting.
Yeah, it's like, no, you're not. Bitch, shut up. And it's basically how I feel about them. It's like, no, get out of here with that bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, like, you got a bunch of women that'll say the most stupidest shit and the most ridiculous shit to make themselves sound way more important than what they really are. And it is what it is. It's like, bitch, you're not a Latina. Like, no, I know Latinas that can't speak Spanish that are more Latina than you. I know a lot of Latinas that can't speak Spanish. I know a lot of Latinos that can't speak Spanish that are still more Latino than they will ever be. And the sad part about that is, it's like people just always want to be something that they're not. And it pisses me off to no end when I hear somebody say that and I know they're not. And I'm sitting there looking at them like, if this motherfucker right here don't quit. It's like, dude, you're just being disrespectful to that culture, because now you're just culture jacking now. You can't be happy with just being being just white Stacy Cornbread. Now you got to start jacking off my fucking culture, basically. Let it go, bitch. Let it go. And that shit pisses me off when they do that. Like, let it go, bitch. Just do you. Stay in your own fucking lane.
Like, I'm Trinidadian. It's like, bitch, you're Indian. You're not black. You're Indian.
Well, no, because Trinidadians typically are mixed with Indian and black for all intents and purposes.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is like Indian with Indian from from India, basically. So a lot of Trinidadians are actually Indian and black for all intents and purposes. There's a lot of Jamaicans that are Indian and black too. So that's actually pretty true. Like, I can actually see that. But the sad part about that is, this is the problem that we're having with a lot of people this day and age, because they typically they're so unhappy with themselves that they got to be something else.
Yeah.
Like my favorite, I was in a last year. I'm not going to say their name. My favorite, I was in a last year with some goofy ass bitch, and she going to say, "Well, that means we're both Latina." Bitch, you ain't Latina. Get the fuck out of my face with that bullshit. Like, trying to say we both Latinos. No, you're not Latino. Fuck out of my face with that bullshit. And the sad part about that, you have no Latin mannerisms. You don't even, you have none. You have none. I have all of them. You have none of them. So shut the fuck up on that bullshit. You can't be, well, I grew up in America. Well, yeah, even if you grew up in America, if you have Latin tendencies, they'll still show from your mother or your father. Whatever the tendencies shine through, we'll see them. We will see them. Like, it is what it is. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, if you're really Latino, you got to prove it. Bitch, I made a video about it already. And my flags are sitting there if you need to really look at it and study it even more to understand what's going on over here. And like, don't say stupid shit if you're not ready for the heat on this shit, basically. It's like, knock it off, lady. Knock it off.
Yeah, if you can't take the heat, then yeah, maybe I would say think before you ask, before you like respond to something. Just listen to what they have to say and move on, because we have way too many hot-headed people that just the moment they hear something they don't like, they just explode, and then they
Mm-hmm.
realize like, oh, well, I agree with you. It's like, then why did you get so upset? And it's just like, it's just the way that you said it that triggered them, I guess. Is how they're responding to it.
Yeah, no, like, come on now.
And sugar daddy is paying too much. I mean, yeah, okay, well, I'll touch on this before I get going too, because it's like, okay, you got sugar daddies again, part of the stand back, Me Too movement, because it's like it's only the foolish men that believe that, oh, as long as you're alpha and you train a bitch, you won't get Me Too'd, because it's kind of hard for her to yell rape when you're slapping her in the face and giving her an orgasm. You know,
Well,
these
and the
kind of
sad part
things
about that, I know women who actually
get
had rough
hard
sex
at people.
just so they can accuse people of rape. It happens quite often.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Like, and
they'll
telling
take
her more
the
is
fact
just
that
like
they
they're
got your
acting.
handprints around their neck from choking them, and the fact that they were done roughly, and they could pretty much bankroll into
And
a
there's
rape
already
charge.
precedent for us to understand that this is not. It's not like, not only is there acting involved, but this is not. It's not always because of a legitimate claim.
Mm-hmm,
Typically, it's just because she didn't feel like she got the most out of it. So it's like,
mm-hmm,
you could be shocking her and, whipping her till like drawing blood and whatever, just however dark you wanted to go, and she could say like, oh, that was, that's fine and dandy, but the moment you don't call her back, that's rape.
mm-hmm.
That, like, this is like, she can change, she can always alter it. So um like, if you're just or like if you're on a varying scale of, resources, she can always use, like, Me Too is always at somebody's beck and call. It does not
Mm-hmm.
matter if she
Literally.
loved you, or if she's how long she's been with you, or what, or whatnot. That's why we talk about it so much, is not to just to trigger people who think that, oh, my girl's never cheated on me, she's never done me wrong at all. That's not us saying that she's gonna do it to you. It's just saying that
She has the
she can
capability
do
of
it.
doing it to
She
you.
can do it. Anybody can do it. And like I said, all of these, like me, I get advertised engagement ring ads, and baby clinic ads, and freaking Zales and De Beers, and all that mumbo jumbo, because they know they're trying to get me back on plantation, and, they're trying to weed out all the suckers. And I think, like, if you think that you can use some sort of mental gymnastics to sort of best women in a social battle where they have Facebook and social media and all that stuff, you're basically
And
like
the whole entire
plotting a.
support of the sisterhood, and the government, and the
Mhm.
cops, and the judges, and everybody else under the sun, you might as well just let it go, kid.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's about it. Thank you, Make Top Thread, No Sweetheart, for listening. To Sifu. And the rest of you lurkers in the background, I'm gonna get going, and I'm gonna just say peace to you guys, and always stay aware, stay cool, stay confident. If you work in retail, don't be doing that whole retail speak, living the dream, that whole thing. Like, just if if you know someone doesn't care enough to talk to you, make it known. You don't want to talk. You're not trying to have spark up conversation. Just do your own thing, and be comfortable with who you are, who you associate with. Don't
Mm-hmm.
try to be doing the whole jumping through hoops and, oh yeah, or, oh, I'm getting through it just no, don't do anything. It's like, do you care? No? Okay then. Why are you asking? What is
Mm-hmm.
it? And get very used to saying that's a personal question. Hey, what'd you
Oh,
do this
definitely.
weekend? That's a personal question. I'm not interested in discussing that at work.
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah, we're living in who hurts you, or it's like, or it's like, what, like, oh, how have you been doing? It's like, personal. I'm fine. How are you? I'm good. You, just get good at being
Keeping
straight,
it short
being
and sweet,
direct.
or
Yeah,
keeping people out of
being
your fucking
straight, being
information.
direct. Don't come all the way from here over left side with some shit. Don't try to make some shit that you did over the weekend sound like it was way better than it really was. Just come to work, come correct, be on time, which is 15 minutes early, and do your shit like you're supposed to. Get your money and get the fuck out of there. And if you're in California and you're woke, move the fuck out of California. And if you're no, not woke. If you're woke, stay the fucking California.
This guy.
Stay the fucking California. If you're red pilled, get the fuck out of California. Unless you're gonna run the government with true term, then stay in California. But that's it. Tico, you wanna take care of the rest of it?
Um, Basically, just be good to yourselves. Treat yourself like milk numbers for yourself. Always be willing to learn and keep an open mind, and even listen to opposing arguments. Because the more diversity you get, the better you can argue a point. The better you can learn. The better you might learn something that you didn't know you actually didn't know. So always keep an open mind when it comes to shit like that. Um, just do better. Just do good with yourself and treat yourself like milk. Like I said, do not destroy yourself, and just improve upon yourself and make yourself the better version of yourself. Nothing special. Just do you. Do you big. And if anybody asks you questions, do on a need to know basis. Only let them know your name, your favorite food, your favorite color, your favorite number, and your age. That's it. All the other shit is extra. They don't need to know about that shit. Pretty much.
Bam. But I am ghosting out now, guys. I already showered. But man, Tico, man, I am ghosting out, man. I'm going there. It is late here, man. But I say bye, motherfucker, bye.
Bye. Simple as hell.
Later.
Later, y'all. It's a pleasure having doing this live stream.
And make top threat, you better not go out on that date. It's gonna be the true mistake for y'all.